And we have the Earth energy field in the greater part of the hologram. We have the hologram, again, expressed there in the brain cell and the universe. And as William Blake, in a greater part of that poem, to see a world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. A pinhead and infinity are the same thing. This is just one point, literally, within the greater ocean. And this is what we are, a point of attention within the greater ocean. And again, scientists have said, how can particles communicate when they're billions of miles apart and communicate instantly? Answer, they are not billions of miles apart. They are expressions of the one infinite whole, and thus, when they move as the one infinite whole, their communication must be instant, because there is actually no space between them. And then, dogmas. Dogma's got a fret on now. Astrology. Astrology! Freaks! Rubbish! Well, let's have a look what astrology is. We see planets and stuff like that moving around. But if we go back to the waveform construct from which everything comes, this is just the holographic decoded level of them, they are information fields. And as they move through the greater information field, they are impacting cosmic internet, posting, receiving, upon the greater field. We interact with that greater field. So as the planets move, the information fields move, and affect the greater field, they are influencing us. And if we are locked into a certain point in this cycle, then we take on a different expression of that universal field when we connect with it, what we call birth. Some people say, when we are first created, and before the birth process happens. But therefore, we take on a different field, part of the universal field. So as we go through life, we are going to be influenced and be affected by the greater changes in the greater field as the planets move around and go to their conjunctions and stuff, than someone who comes in at a different point and therefore takes on a different expression of that field. It's all energy interacting with each other, information interacting with each other. And when you take the holographic nature of reality, never mind the greater consciousness, even at the level of the body, we are a smaller version of the universe. Because the universe is holographic, therefore we are a smaller version of the universe. We've come a bloody long way from Charlie Smith driving his bus and Ethel Jones at the store that they want us to believe we are. Then there's the digital level. This is another level which can explain a lot of things. Then now, this is getting closer and closer to our reality now, our experienced reality. They're now creating digital holograms. This is a mainstream media report about them, and it says, and they look real, so real that when Ford used a digital hologram to show off a car concept model, people stopped, afraid to walk into it. They thought the holographic car was really there. That car is a hologram. It's not solid, but just appears so. This digital hologram has taken it even further. Now, what are numbers? What is this digital level? It's the digital level of the universe that numerology comes in to. Because all these different levels, the waveform, the electrical, the digital, and the holographic, are all expressions of the same information. They just express themselves differently, but it's the same information. So these numbers at the digital level are number expressions of vibrational information states. And the ancients, when they used to build their buildings, and they used to build them under this sacred geometry, as they call it, with pi, golden mean, the Fibonacci sequence that you find throughout nature, they knew that if they got the digital, they call it that, the numbers right, the mathematics right, then they were bringing into that building certain information vibrational states, because that is just a reflection of that. If you get the numbers right, you create vibrational information here that expresses that, or it goes the other way. And they understood that. So get the numbers right, you get the information in the building you're building right. And they are expressing A, C, G, and T, the codes of DNA, now as binary codes, on-off electrical charges. Where do you find them? In computers. And so, what does this all mean? I'm not sure, but we'll see. What does all this mean? It means we're living a false identity. And it's that false identity that holds us in servitude. We think we're humans. It is an experience. What we are is infinite awareness having that experience. And once we self-identify with the experience, instead of with I am all that is ever can be, then we're pulled into the matrix, we're pulled into the illusion, we're pulled into enslavement. You can see on the lower levels of the greater self now, there's technology that can capture these energy fields. And of course, near-death experiencers who've left the holographic level have experienced some of these other levels that I'm talking about, and some of these other states beyond the illusion. And I studied this a lot for many years during my research, and the common themes that people repeat are incredible. This is one that encapsulates everything that I've been talking about, a near-death experience telling of what happened to him. He said, everything from the beginning, my birth, my ancestors, my children, my wife, everything comes together simultaneously. I saw everything about me and about everyone who was around me. I saw everything they were thinking now, what they thought then, what was happening before, what was happening now. There is no time. There is no sequence of events. No such thing as limitation, of distance, of period, of place. I could be anywhere I wanted to be simultaneously. That is who we are, and that is what the control system is desperate for us not to remember. And when we get caught in the telescope, in the lens, we can get caught in the illusion of time and space. And massively involved in that are the two hemispheres of the brain. This is a big thing in terms of the way we're controlled and enslaved. There are two hemispheres of the brain, the left and right, and then there is this bridge, corpus callosum, that's supposed to be the means through which they talk to each other. They have very, very different personalities, very, very different ways of decoding reality. Ideal, we are whole brain people and get the best of both. Goal of the control system, stick them in the left brain, shut the right brain down. So the left side of the brain is logical in its version of logic, and it is sequential. What it does is take happenings in the now and it puts them in a sequence. And we call this sequence time. And the faster it moves the sequence, the faster time seems to be passing. The slower it moves the sequence, the slower time seems to be passing. Thus, when you are in a situation you don't like, oh, time's passing so slow. A situation you love, oh my goodness, is that the time? It's flown today. Because the sequence is being put together in a different experiential way. That's time. Oh my goodness me. No, it's the left side of the brain. It's, this is the big one. It looks at things in parts. The left side of the brain sees everything as apart from everything else. It doesn't see pictures, it sees dots. It doesn't connect dots, it sees dots. And that's what they want. Is one of the reasons they want is in the left side of the brain. The right side of the brain is intuitive. The right side of the brain and the heart are very, very, very much connected. It is holistic. And it looks at wholes. It sees the connections between things. That's why they don't want right-brain people. And this is a Mercedes-Benz advertisement, fully enough, giving a symbolic feel for the two sides of the brain. This is the left side of the brain. Oh, I'm ever so boring. I love structure. I love hierarchy. I love lessons. Oh, exams. I love them. I love them. And this is this guy, hey, chill man, hey, let's do a painting here, that's good, oh yes. What we want is both, because you get people who are really right-brained and they can't function in this world. We need both. And this is a Neil Haig depiction of the two hemispheres of the brain. This is the structure. This is the hierarchy. This is the world that we live in. Because humanity and that which runs the institutions has been turned into prisoners of the left brain, that's why our society is a left-brain society. And it rewards left-brain people. You know, if you go to school and you take information into the left brain and you hold it and then you spew it out at exam time, you pass. Oh, he's ever so clever. No, he's got a good memory and his left brain is functioning very well. But you are a kid who's more whole-brained and looking at it from another perspective, and he'll look at this information, boom, 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 and he'll whip it over there and he'll look at it and he'll go, it's a piece of shit. And then he's punished. He don't pass his exams. And he whips it over to the left brain under pressure. A lot of them do and conform because it's easier that way. And a lot of people don't. Hello, is that Mrs. Jones? Yeah, it's about Johnny. Is a problem. What's happening? He's asking questions and all want to do it. Oh my God, don't do that. You know, Gareth, I'm so proud of Gareth because who was singing for us today, because he didn't mess about when he went to school. He didn't get C's. He didn't get D's. He got E's, right? And because he couldn't give a shit. And 30 years later, he's an incredibly intelligent man, right? And here's another Neil Haig depiction. What this system is set up to do, therefore, and what I've just described is part of it, is to firewall off the left side of the brain and keep right-brain people out. And left-brain people, therefore, are very suspicious of right-brain people. He's a bit of a bloody loony, he is, and all that stuff. This is the artist. This is the maverick. This is the visionary. This is the one that can see beyond the illusion. But they want the focus of attention in the left side of the brain. Hey, look, mate, honestly, mate, okay, I'm standing here, I've got reddish hair, I've got a brown bloody T-shirt on, there's a big word called doom on the bloody... No, mate, it can't be. I'm driving down the road, I'm going to vote for Obama. You know, I mean, the illusion is just so massive. And this is Jill Bolte-Taylor, she's a brain scientist, and she had a stroke in the left side of the brain in 1996, one morning, and as the stroke was happening, she was getting more and more outside of this reality that we call the real world. And what was happening is that her left side of the brain was no longer decoding reality as it should because it was malfunctioning. Suddenly, her hands didn't look like hands anymore. There was no point where her body ended and the rest of the room started. It was one energy field. She, in her words, lost 37 years of emotional baggage because the baggage was in the operating system and it was no longer being decoded, thus she wasn't experiencing it. And she said that during this stroke, when it was happening, she didn't realize it was a stroke for a while. She actually remained conscious for a lot of time, which is why she was able to retell the experience. And she said at one point she's trying to call work to get some help, but she gets the business cards, she's trying to see the number, because she can't remember the number, but she can't see numbers. All she can see is digital squiggles. Why? Because the left side of the brain had stopped decoding through the digital into the holographic, and thus she'd gone back to the digital, and she was seeing that level of reality. And then she eventually, she had waves of clarity every now and again, which allowed her to go forward. After 45 minutes, she managed to ring work. So she rings work, and the guy must have picked it up and said hello, or something like that. And all she heard at the other end was, woof, woof, woof. And she said, I said to him, it's Jill, I'm in trouble. She's sure as hell, she said, I said, it's Jill, I'm in trouble. But all she heard herself say was, woof, woof, woof. Why? Because the vibrational information she was hearing from herself, the vibrational information coming from the guy at the other end, was no longer being decoded accurately through to words that she understood. It was being distorted, thus she wasn't hearing it, because she only hears it when the brain decodes it.